여러분 안녕하세요. 고려대학교 미디어학과 석사과정 재학 중인 Desislava Vaselinova입니다. 오늘 저의 발표 제목은 What do Koreans think? Racialized sexualities and multiculturalism on YouTube's Korean Studio입니다. 원활한 발표를 위해 지금부터 영어로 발표를 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 이 점에 대해 여러분의 양해를 부탁드립니다. From now on, I will start speaking in English, and I will first present the agenda for today. I will start with the introduction and purposes of my study, then I will go over the literature review, methodology, and findings sections. Finally, I will leave some space for further discussions and suggestions. The global popularity of the Korean wave and the heightened international visibility of South Korea over the past couple of decades has resulted in an increased international interest towards Korean cultural products, including mainstream entertainment, as well as amateur content on the video sharing platform YouTube. Responding to the increased global attention towards Korea and the demand for presumably authentic user-generated content, Korean YouTubers have established channels centered around the Korean culture and lifestyle and targeted at non-Korean viewers. Moreover, the influence of Korean YouTubers overseas has marked a considerable increase in the last few years, according to several media outlets. Among the YouTube channels targeted at non-Korean audiences, Korean Studio stands out with its significant established audience of over 539,000 subscribers as of June 2020. The majority of videos uploaded to the channel deal with issues of cultural diversity, such as cross-cultural dating, Korean beauty standards regarding both Koreans and non-Koreans, and the general attitudes of Koreans towards foreigners. The videos usually feature young adults, presumably representing the ordinary Korean perspective, who share their thoughts and feelings regarding a given discussion topic or a piece of visual content. Rather than being seen as an idiosyncratic case, the present paper argues that the Korean Studio YouTube channel should be understood as a representative example reflecting two distinct social tendencies. First, the increasing demand and provision for the authentic Korean perspective on the cross-cultural topics, and second, the establishment of YouTube as a major site for creating a social discourse around controversial issues such as sexuality, race, and gender. Such tendencies are further facilitated by the participatory culture established on the video sharing platform. As a channel targeted at non-Korean audiences, Korean Studio reflects the desire of Korea for global visibility, which has also been manifested on a national and political level. It also holds the potential for fostering the multicultural dialogue between Korea and the rest of the world. However, a closer scrutiny reveals that the Korean Studio YouTube channel reduces cross-cultural interactions to simple objectification of the cultural other, therefore producing a heavily stereotyped images of racialized sexuality in its videos. The positioning of such perspective as authentic, which is facilitated by the communicative elements of user-generated content, further suggests the need for critically investigating the ideological implications of the content in question. Therefore, the aim of the current paper is to critique the way racialized sexualities are constructed on the Korean Studio YouTube channel, and to further discuss the possible ideological implications of such constructions for the cross-cultural dialogue between Korea and the rest of the world. Whereas recent research has been focusing on YouTube channels representing Korea through the eyes of non-Korean vloggers, little critical insight has been provided in relation to content produced by Korean creators. In order to fill this gap and meet its objective, this paper takes a post-structuralist perspective, suggesting that gender and sexuality are objects of sociocultural discursive formation. Furthermore, it employs an intersectional framework positing that the issues of race and sexuality are interconnected and therefore should be examined within their complex relations to each other. The literature review of the paper was centered around three main topics. These are the construction of racialized and sexualized identities, Then, the importance of context, in this case, the specific socio-cultural context of Korea. And then I discussed YouTube as a site for authentic user-generated content. A significant body of research examines the construction of racialized sexualities from a Western perspective, with seminal works on the topic being situated in the context of the United States. Overall, research suggests that racialized sexualities are constructed through various positioning of the self and the others. This process is informed by internalized to the individual power relations, and more precisely, relations of colonial domination and subordination. Existing literature argues that sexualities are to be analyzed with great attention to historical specificities of social conditions and changes that might be concealed under the overarching term of colonialism. Similar specificities inform the construction of race. Such notions suggest that every examination of racialized sexualities should be precisely contextualized and based on a comprehensive understanding of social, political, historical, and cultural phenomena that might inform the construction of the racial other's identity. The current study situates the construction of racialized sexualities in the unique socio-economic circumstances of South Korea, characterized by Confucian influences, colonial history, economic development, and an ongoing strive towards global visibility. First, I will discuss the perceived authenticity of YouTube. The social video platform YouTube is designated as the site for the current investigation. YouTube is ontologically understood as a remediation of television or post-television. It is centered around user-generated content and defined as a site of participatory culture. As YouTube has established itself as a major media platform, it is involved as such in the construction of social realities. Furthermore, due to the communicative specificities of the platform, which are spontaneity, ordinariness, amateurism, and so on, YouTube content creates a sense of authenticity. Such a characteristic has allowed for frequent manifestations of race, gender, and sexuality on YouTube, and have established the platform as an important site for investigations within the scope of cultural studies. In addition, the facility of YouTube for intensifying and advancing the cross-cultural dialogue has also been highlighted in the context of globalization. However, the present paper argues that authentic representations facilitated by the specific characteristics of YouTube should be critically interrogated. I will go over the methodological part of my study. In order to meet its objectives, the present paper employed critical textual analysis of video content uploaded to the Korean Studio YouTube channel. This approach is concerned not only with the linguistic aspects of the content, but also with the specificities of its form. As of April 20th, when the study took place, the full catalog of the channel consisted of 181 videos. As research focused on specific YouTube channels is still scarce, there is little consensus in academia regarding the approaches to qualitatively studying such type of media text. Moreover, the diversity of topics discussed on the Korean Studio channel poses a further challenge to the categorization of the content and the sampling procedure. In order to overcome those difficulties, the current paper employed a purposeful sampling technique which was based on a high level of open coding. This technique is aimed at identifying categories through conceptualization based on general themes that emerge from the content. The complete collection of videos on the Korean Studio YouTube channel was examined with the objective of identifying broad thematic categories and further assessing their relevancy to the objectives of the study. The final sample for analysis consisted of a total of 52 videos. Additionally, in order to understand the audience's engagement with the content under investigation, the present study employed critical discourse analysis. The top 20 comments under the sample videos were scraped and thoroughly examined. First, I will discuss some textual characteristics of the YouTube channel that I'm examining. Since its creation in 2014, Korean Studio has gone through different developmental stages and has released content with greatly varying textual characteristics. There are some points, however, that are worth noticing. The videos sampled for the current study take the formats of social experiments, interviews with selected participants, and street interviews. A consistent characteristic that can be identified through the diverse video formats is the emphasis on the Korean and mostly Korean man as an assessor and validator of other cultures, their products, and their representatives. Social experiments on the channel usually feature several young adults who are presented with either still images or video clips and are further invited to share their thoughts and evaluations of the content. The displayed images tend to be provocative, occasionally featuring nudity and profanity. Noteworthy is the fact that the visual content is not supported by any additional informational material regarding its source, the people featured, or the cultural practices and symbols displayed. Such a characteristic impedes a comprehensive understanding of the cultural other, reducing their representation to the realm of sexuality. A second type of social experiment displays the Korean encounter with the cultural other. Street interviews, on the other hand, are characterized with presumed spontaneity and intended to validate the authenticity of the presented perspectives. In those videos, ordinary Koreans are asked to share their thoughts about non-Koreans, frequently categorized as foreigners or Westerners, and further their attitudes towards cross-cultural dating. Noteworthy is the fact that the channel frequently uses a broad categorization of the foreign other as black, Westerner, or simply foreigner, creating a monolithic image of the racial other. However, narratives around the notion of foreigner contain assumptions of Euro-American people, therefore normalizing whiteness. The channel was most informative in terms of the construction of black femininities, black masculinities, and white femininities, which I'm about to start discussing. First, here are some still images of the content that I'm examining, so you can obtain a general idea of what the content is about. So to start with the construction of black femininities. In the narratives of Korean men on the channel, black women were discussed predominantly in relation to their physical characteristics, with an emphasis being placed on their bodies. Recurrent was the notion of a healthy body, given the fact that the reactors were not provided with context for understanding the musical videos or the still images they were presented with. The conception of the cultural content was reduced to simple spectacularization of the black female body. Such practice of spectacularization has been identified in the literature before by black feminist author Bell Hooks, who claims that the identity of the black female entertainer tends to be reduced to an emphasis on certain body parts of hers, with little consideration of her personality or her potential aspirations in life. The reactions on the Korean Studio channel displayed similar attitudes, with the reactions to displayed content being accompanied by exclamations of surprise and delight and pure awe. In Korean men's narratives, the black dancing female body was frequently described with the terms healthy, usually expressed by the Korean term konganmi, or beauty of healthy physique, and glamorous, which corresponds with the colloquial notion of slim thick, again emphasizing the focus on the physical appearance and by extension on the sexuality of the racial other. Images of black women served Koreans in order to manifest their preferred female body types. Although diversity of physical structures was displayed, the fact that images of the racial other served the purpose of manifesting Korean preferences resulted in the reduction of the understanding of black women as simple objects of sexual desire. In the narratives of Koreans on the channel, recurrent was the characterizing of the black woman as assertive, powerful, independent, confident, and expressive, which corresponds with widely known stereotypical images of black women, conceptualized in academic literature as mommy, which is strong and assertive, sapphire, which is expressive and sassy, and Jezebel, which is sexually aggressive. Among other non-Korean video participants, black people were the most frequently featured non-Koreans on the channel. Videos where Koreans interact with black women portray the perception of the friendly sister, who is not objectified. In their interactions with black women, the male cast members of Korean studio positioned themselves as curious learners and observers. However, in such interactions, Koreans adopted an ethnocentric self-positioning, drawing a clear division between us and the exotic and unfamiliar other. Moving on to the construction of black masculinities. Representation of black masculinities was also heavily stereotyped, reflecting the widely spread perceptions of in the Western world of blacks as aggressive, strong, and hypersexual. The black male was exoticized and discussed as an object of curiosity and desire from the perspective of Korean women. For instance, one of the featured video participants shared that she finds black men attractive due to the fact that they have a big build and are wild, thus reflecting a conventional stereotypes of an oversized, hypermasculine figure. In a different video where Korean men discussed the black male, his masculine image was further linked to sports, such as basketball. In scholarly literature, sports have been understood as a site where aggressive black masculinity can be tamed within the organized space of the game. Therefore, the notion of sports or the link between sports and black males perpetuates the same stereotype of aggressiveness. Furthermore, images of black men appearing on the channel showcase muscular bodies and assertive facial expressions, therefore reinforcing the same basic stereotypes. The black male was further described as friendly and funny, playing the role of an older brother who protects the physically inferior Korean. The neologism "흑형" or black older brother was mentioned several times, depicting the relationship between Koreans and black people, although the term has a mockery nuance, emphasizing oversized, hypersexual male bodies. Korean studios' content presented the term in a very positive light. Consequently, the audience engaged with the notion in uncritical ways, therefore being rendered to the position of the misled within the interracial discourse. Koreans overall positioned themselves in an egalitarian, friendly, and relaxed relationship with black men. Such a move, however, might conceal the reality of a still limited multicultural understanding in Korea. Further, I will describe the construction of white femininities on the channel. In contrast to black people who were simply categorized by their race, white people were occasionally recognized as diverse in terms of their nationalities and ethnicities. Key terms to describe white women were open-minded and free, terms which, used in relation to foreigners, suggest promiscuity and sexual straightforwardness. Furthermore, asked for their ideal type of women, Koreans would repeatedly name only a few white celebrities, such as Jennifer Lawrence or Scarlett Johansson, which are characterized with pale skin, blonde hair, and brightly colored eyes. Therefore, Koreans were closely reproducing conventional Western perceptions of beauty. The Westerner or foreigner and the European were all subconsciously perceived as white. Furthermore, white women were constructed as tall, beautiful, intelligent, and even angelic. They were an object of admiration on the part of Korean men. In that sense, Korean men self-positioned themselves as inferior to the white girl, demonstrating a subconscious sense of colonial complex. Moreover, the white woman was situated in a patriarchal structure. She was seen as a sign of status for her Korean partner. As the theme of the imagined relationship with a foreigner was currently very much discussed on the channel under investigation, I decided to situate that in a separate section of my findings. I will briefly discuss the findings regarding this topic. Koreans imagine the relationship with a foreigner above all as a learning experience and culturally enriching experience for the individual, in line with the postmodern and neoliberal sensibility promoting the strive for self-development. What is more, the video narratives created an imagined situation of potential cross-cultural or interracial relationships, frequently excluding the possibility of conflict. Those relationships were seen as a plain canvas where Koreans would draw their imagined society and gender relations. The generalized and vague figure of the foreigner was imagined in the role of the perfect partner. Perfection in this case was defined in sharp contrast with the perceived characteristics and actions of the Korean partner. Furthermore, any cultural clashes or language differences were expected to be overcome due to the thoughtfulness and effort on the part of the foreign partner. The all-male cast of Korean studio described non-Korean girls as thoughtful, respectful towards the private life of their partner, and not obsessive in a relationship. Furthermore, white girls were presented as free-spirited and nevertheless complying to the Korean patriarchal norms. Such a phenomenon should be understood in the specific context of Korea. The imagined figure of the foreigner within a relationship served to resolve Korean men's anxieties and insecurities related to the socio-economic context of Korea, and they provided an escape from Hell Chosun, the current notion of Hell Chosun, while at the same time maintaining the patriarchal social values. Finally, I will discuss my analysis of comments and talk about the audience's engagement with the content under examination. The critical discourse analysis of the top 20 comments under the sampled videos revealed 3 different modes of audience's engagement with the presented content. Some members of the audience were quick to identify and critique the stereotypical and problematic images presented in the videos, therefore furthering the discourse around the content in question in a potentially constructive and positive direction. However, other portion of the audience was less critical of Korean studios' videos. Accepting the role of the Korean as a legitimate cultural validator, some members of the audience expressed their inability to adhere to the presented stereotypical views. Such tendency is problematic, as research has shown that stereotypes result in social and educational underperformance of certain social groups, as they enact the so-called self-fulfilling prophecy, or one's confirmation to external expectations. The acknowledgement of the Korean as a cultural assessor and validator presents an alternative to the dominant Western ideologies and perceptions. However, it also proves to be problematic and susceptible to scrutiny. As mentioned above, Korean studios' content actively reinforced dominant racial and gender stereotypes, pairing such practice with understanding the foreign other to the domain of sexuality. A third tendency detected in the comments was an uncritical reading characterized by admiration of the content the Korean studio cast or the interviewees filmed in the videos. This type of engagement showed a positive attitude towards the ostensible naivety portrayed by the Koreans. Furthermore, the audiences were occasionally engaging in objectification of the video participants, therefore reducing the complex meanings and implications of the content to visual sensations. Although critical opinions by the audience are frequently voiced since the creation of the channel, no shift in the ideologies embedded in the videos was observed. stereotypical and sexualized representation of the foreigner constituted the main ideological tendencies persistent throughout all the examined content. Finally, I would like to say that this research has the potential to be extended through interviews with people who are subscribers to the examined channel, with the idea of understanding more profoundly why would people engage with a content that is deeply problematic. With that being said, I will be very grateful to hear your suggestions and comments on my research. With this, my presentation ends. 감사합니다.